Yesterday, many Triad students went back to school. Some kids, they want to open right up about their day. Others, they may need to decompress or just not want to talk at all. In today's To Your Wellbeing, we are talking about communication for a successful school year. Dr. Jinda Mendelson is a licensed clinical psychologist with LeBauer Healthcare. Should we jump right in when our kids get home and ask them right away, or should we give them some time?
I think that really depends on your kid. Some children process things verbally where they almost need to talk to you about it, and you might find you don't have to ask at all. They just launch right in. Other kids may need some time to decompress and kind of take it in before they're really ready to talk about it. So that really can vary from child to child.
What are the signs that your kids might want to shy away from it?
You know, there are some children who may have trouble putting their thoughts or feelings into words, where a big open-ended question might just be kind of overwhelming. This is especially the case for neurodivergent children, such as kids with autism or ADHD, where having you just ask, "How was your day?" is just it's kind of too much. Like, they don't know where to begin. So for those kids, sometimes it can be a good idea to start with a smaller question, like, "What did you do at recess?" or "Tell me more about your teacher," and go from there, kind of feeding them questions that lead you to some more information.
You know, I'm
Other
30.
kids,
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I'm 34, and when my mom asks me how was your day, I still feel the same way. Like, I don't know what to say.
it's kind of a big question. It's hard to know where to start, especially for the first day of school where a lot can happen.
So once you finally get the kids talking, though, what should you be looking for? What should you be gauging to see if they're telling you the truth, if things are really going well?
Well, if it goes well, hopefully your child will be kind of enthusiastic and maybe even a little excited to tell you, even if it takes some effort to get them to open up. Signs that things did not go so well would be if your child comes home and is angry or irritable, if you notice your child lashing out or suddenly becoming aggressive towards siblings or other kids. That could be a sign that maybe they experience some bullying. Children who avoid going to school, such as by complaining of physical symptoms or simply saying that they don't want to go, those are all signs that your child's not having a really good time at school, and that you might want to seek out some extra help for them.
You know, it's not just you want them talking to. A lot of people have babysitters after school. They have other family members that take care of the kids. How do you build this open line of communication between the whole team?
One thing that I recommend is being an active listener, not a reactive listener. And what that means is making sure your child knows that when you're having these kind of big conversations, you're giving them your full attention. And you can do that by giving really short, simple, non-judgmental responses, like basic things like "mm-hmm" and "oh." That shows your child that you're listening, but you're not judging them for what they're saying. Sometimes when kids open up to us, we as adults and as their parents have our own big emotional responses to what they might be saying. And I don't recommend letting that out right in the moment with your child as much as possible. That's where it's good to have kind of prepare ourselves emotionally as adults before we go into these conversations, that we are ready to listen and then have some kind of outlet to process our own feelings after, so that we can respond to our children in a way that encourages them to keep opening up to us.
So we want to give them our full attention. How do we get the kids' full attention? Because everyone's always in their screens these days, playing on the phone or the iPad.
Yeah, that's a really tricky question, especially since for some kids, giving the full attention, like making eye contact or having the conversation be the only thing that they're doing, can actually be a little overwhelming. So sometimes a good time to start a conversation with your child can be where you're not necessarily making eye contact, like in the car, or where you're both engaged in an activity that takes some but not all of your attention, like if they're drawing while you cook dinner or something like that. I think in terms of managing screen time to engage your child, well, while they're unwinding at the end of the day with their show or their iPad, that's probably not the best time to try to start a conversation with them. So looking for those pockets of time where, they're not already engaged with something that is really exciting for them or that lets them unwind in a way that they might need to.
Parents always have big concerns about making sure their kids are okay coping with things. And this year, they've got to cope with COVID and maybe wearing some masks in the classrooms. How do you help manage that fear or anxiety in your child about that?
Yeah, there's so much that can feel so out of control and be so out of control about COVID. I actually think mask wearing is a great opportunity to give your child some control. So, involving them in the selection of the mask, making sure that they have a mask that is comfortable for them. And at this point, there are all kinds of different masks with all kinds of fun patterns. So, letting them pick masks that are fun for them, that feel like an expression or even a fashion statement.
There's also all those worries that we've heard kids ask parents of, what if someone in my class gets COVID? Or what if I get COVID? How do you manage those fears?
So for those kinds of fears, sometimes it can be good to sit with your child and really think it through, to make a plan. What would you do if someone in your class got COVID? What would we do as a family? And really think it through, start to finish. This shows your child that they're not alone, and it takes a big, overwhelming, unmanageable fear and contains it a little bit, gives them a sense of what might happen if this scary thought were to actually come to fruition.
Speaking of not being alone, this is the first time a lot of kids are back with their friends in the classroom. What do you do if your kids might be having a little trouble making friends?
Well, just talking to them about that process, making sure that you are there for them, that they know you're there for them, and that you're there to talk to them. Setting up play dates outside of school can be a great way to help your child make friends. So even looking to speak to some of the parents, seeing if they'd be up for getting their child together with your child as safely as possible, of course, can be a nice way to help your child make some connections with classmates.
Friends are just one of the benefits of being back in school. There's so many other positives. How do we help our kids focus on those positives and not the negatives?
Hmm. Well, one thing that can be helpful in terms of focusing on the positives is sitting down with your child. Often the end of the day is a nice time to do this and think about everything that went right today or everything that you're grateful. And everything can be kind of a big number. So sometimes it's good to contain it with, like, let's just think of 3 things that we are really happy happened today or that we feel good about today.
Speaking of feeling good, is there any feel-good advice you have for people headed into the year? Any last thoughts?
I think this year has been challenging for so many of us in so many different ways. And I think it's an opportunity for all of us, adults and children alike, to reflect on everything that we've already gone through and, feel proud of ourselves and build our own resilience.
So much good advice today. We really appreciate you being here. Definitely want to have you back on soon as the school year goes on.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
If you missed any of this, it will all be in the 2 Wants to Know section of WFMYnews2.com.